Today is Saturday, January 27th, 2018. Hello, and welcome to Weekly Astrology Notes for the week of January 28th through February 4th, 2018. Weekly summary. We have the full moon in Leo, which is a supermoon and an eclipse, coming on Wednesday morning the 31st, bringing a strong need for recognition and a bit of drama. But most of all, this is a fun full moon, because Leo is the sign of romance and recreation. Sports, play, as well as hobby and leisure activities are what we are looking for with this full moon, and it will be brightest on Tuesday evening. And the fun full moon goes well with the party atmosphere this coming weekend. The big day this week is actually going to be Saturday the 3rd, when two planetary aspects, Mercury sextile Mars and Venus square Jupiter, are going to make Friday evening through Saturday evening a great time for social events. So it's a very social weekend coming up, especially Friday and Saturday night. So overall, I'm calling this a fun week ahead, a time for play. And that is in stark contrast to political events going on in America. Also in this week's report, transits for Donald Trump, revealing his relationship problems, as well as transits for Hillary Clinton, revealing her legal problems. Transits for the USA Constitution, revealing a karmic moment for the law in America coming this week. And transits for the USA. I've got an analysis of the next 3 months. It reveals potentially dangerous events on the horizon, and a time when a lot more people will get involved in the political process. Okay, so let's get started with Sunday, January the 28th. We've got a slow Sunday morning, while the moon is void of course until late morning, and then in the moon in Cancer has us preferring to stay at home. So let's start with mid-morning when the moon enters Cancer. You may prefer to crawl into your shell for the next couple of days. Time spent at home gives you a chance to nurture yourself, cook a good meal at home. We're more sensitive and caring during this time. Important to be around people who make you feel good about yourself and support you. Avoid negative people and circumstances because we tend to absorb that energy a bit more. And in the evening, on Sunday, the moon opposition Saturn, unfortunately around mealtime. This aspect slows the digestion down, lack of emotional flexibility. You feel like a wet blanket has been thrown on you. The remedy is to eat a warm meal. Okay, moving along to Monday the 29th. Got a slow start of the week, unlike the week before. The moon in Cancer makes Monday a watery, emotional day with some challenges in the early evening. We start out in the morning with moon trine Neptune, Cancer to Pisces, very nice, very sensitive, warm and caring, and in need of sanctuary to allow your imagination to flow freely. But then in the early evening, we've got the moon opposition Pluto. Strong burst of energy brings disruptions in the home. Intense emotions come to the surface. It can be purifying if you use this energy to reform rather than punish yourself and others. And a little reward later in the evening, moon trine Jupiter. So Monday evening later should be much nicer, more pleasant disposition. Mood changes for the better. Positive mood, desire to share yourself with your partner should make for a nice intimate encounters. Moving along to Tuesday, the 30th. We got disruptions on Tuesday morning. Folks are restless and easily jolted, with a short void of course until the late morning when the moon in Leo begins 2 days with lots of display behavior. Folks looking to get noticed, and the full moon is brightest this evening on Tuesday. So we start off in the middle of the night with the moon square Uranus, disruptions in the home, and in the early morning, moon opposition Mercury, preoccupation with the past leads to confusion and restlessness. Unconscious behaviors interfere with communication. Hard to come out of your shell. And then we've got a void, of course, until the late morning when the moon enters Leo. It should be a big moon in Leo this time because of the super full moon. We're more romantic and creative for the next couple of days. Time to attend to your hobbies. During this passage of moon in Leo, there is an extra strong need for recognition from others, which could result in dramatic displays. Everyone will show the need to get noticed over the next couple of days. It's a good time for social events, especially where folks can get dressed up and show off. So we start in the afternoon on Tuesday with the moon trine Mars. Very energetic, desire to run and explore. Good time to be outdoors or have a good workout. Or best of all, do something to express your creative side. You want to get your creativity out into the world, show the world what you can do, attend to your hobbies, put them on display. Once again, this need for recognition, it's all because we feel a lot brighter this week. We have a lot more light with this full moon. Moving into Wednesday, the 31st, a very creative day. Moon in Leo asking you to create something bigger than yourself. Feeling very original and unique today. The full moon kind of brings that crisis to express yourself and get noticed. And the whole idea with this creating something bigger than yourself is because, Leo, of course, is your creative energy. And the opposition to Uranus makes you want to project that kind of out into the outer world. So you want to create something that's bigger than yourself, something that will get you noticed. This super full moon is going to be at 11 degrees, 37 minutes of Leo. And the critical moment in the moon cycle, the moment when the subconscious forces rise to the surface and we feel a powerful need for recognition. So that's going to be early in the morning for those of us on the West Coast. It's bound to be dramatic. It's a crisis to express yourself. We're looking to expand our creative energies towards group activities. I should have put Aquarius in there. Basically, that means creating something bigger than yourself, and also a good time to spend with your children, because Leo rules the children, and whenever moon is in Leo, it's always a good time to spend with your kids. So, for example, with regards to the creative energy, instead of creating a painting just for yourself, you create a poster to advertise a group that you're involved in, and that's Aquarius, some group activity. So your creative endeavors move into the outer world, and it is in this process that you learn to strike a balance between your desires, your creative desires, and the needs of the group. And of course, that's an important lesson for all of us. So we need to be recognized by the group, and if we don't, it brings out dramatic displays in order to get us noticed. But most of all, this is a fun full moon, because Leo is the sign of romance and recreation. So sports, play, family outings, hobbies, and leisure activities like skiing, which should be really great in the Sierras this week after all the rain we got and snow up there in the mountains. It should be a really great weekend for skiing. And that's the kind of thing we're looking for with this full moon and with this fun-filled weekend we have coming up. Another thing to consider in my research, I learned that the minor planet series, I don't have it shown here, this program doesn't show the minor planets, but it's going to be conjunct the moon at the time of the full moon. So Ceres rules motherly love, female productive issues, family bonds and relationships. As a virgin goddess, Ceres represents independent single women and sole parents. As a grain goddess, Ceres rules the growing of plants and food crops, the harvest, natural resources, and the environment. And I've got a couple of links to share with you. Here's a good link. This is the one that talks about Ceres being so close to the moon at the time of the full moon and gives a good interpretation of that. And here's another link that talks about the creative element in all of this that kind of agrees with the same interpretation that I'm giving. So I'll leave links to those in the description. Okay, and as well on Wednesday, we've got Mercury entering the sign of Aquarius, which it will be until February the 28th, excuse me, the 18th. So Aquarius is unique, always has to be different. So for the next couple of weeks, we insist on being original, not a copy of someone else. Aquarius rules our process of change and evolution, so we're looking for information to help us move on to better circumstances. Aquarius loves to do things out in the open, bring things to the light, so we are not interested in deep, dark, psychological themes. Instead, we are more curious, open-minded, interested in people and topics that differ from the norm or what we're used to. Should make for enlightening discussion and a greater focus on groups and associations. Aquarius says, I know, so we tend to be more willing to express whatever thought comes to mind without inhibition. You know, I should mention Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. The result can be brilliant ideas. You know, whatever comes off the top of your head, you're likely to just say it. And it could be much more than you're accustomed to. And of course, Aquarius loves surprises, so be open to taking a different course at a moment's notice. Goes well with the full moon this morning, which is kind of liberating us as well. So we've got a moon opposition Venus in the afternoon on Wednesday. Desire to create something bigger than yourself. Again, it's much like the full moon, the sun opposition moon. And then the moon square Jupiter. Folks are loud and dramatic. That'll be on Wednesday evening. We're overcoming the darkness with exaggeration and drama. So overindulgence is likely. Folks are going to get lazy. It's hard to stick to your diet on aspects like this. People kind of want to flash their money and all that kind of stuff. Very flashy. So that's on Wednesday, the 31st. Moving along to Thursday, the 1st. Getting my days mixed up here. Thursday, moon in Virgo. Keeps us busy today, tending to work and solving problems. So in the middle of the night, we've got the moon trine Uranus. Makes us ambitious. And then moon enters Virgo after a short border course, so it's not a time to start things on Thursday morning, start projects or sign new agreements. So the moon enters Virgo late morning. We're better at details the next couple of days. Virgo is critical and intellectual, likes to solve puzzles, and is very helpful. Good time to revisit your health regime whenever moon enters Virgo. And it's good to do this every month at the time when moon goes into Virgo. And, think about what we eat and how it affects your energy level and your general disposition, and maybe make a correction or a precise adjustment, which Virgo loves to do. And then in the evening on Thursday, we've got the moon square Mars. So late Thursday evening, feeling agitated, strong emotions surface, demanding, critical towards anyone who lacks integrity. You need to feel satisfied with what you have, and that's the challenge of the Virgo to Sagittarius square. And then later in the evening on Thursday, we're attending to duty and responsibility with moon trine Saturn, looking for opportunity for advancement. Okay, moving on to Friday, the 2nd, Candlemas and Groundhog Day. Mentally cloudy in the morning, so maybe that means that the groundhog is still going to predict more winter. I'm not sure. But otherwise, an active day with moon in Virgo keeping us busy. 2 great moon aspects and the Mercury sextile Mars aspect for early Saturday makes Friday evening a good night to have some fun. A party night on Friday. We start in the morning with the moon opposition Neptune. Friday morning is a bit mentally cloudy. Subconscious impulses colored by influx from the collective subconscious. We source things from the collective. Ideas and thoughts can come to mind that seem very strange and out of place. It's like, where did that come from? It's the opposition to Neptune. It leaves you very open, very sensitive, open to subtle influences around you, easy to absorb energy from others. Desire to escape, look for something you feel you lost, can be easily diluted. And then on Friday evening, we've got the wonderful moon trine Pluto. So Friday evening, the communal well is deep, able to draw from the well of collective resources, more confidence, so everyone feels they have the ability to stand up and gather their own energy and don't have to lean on others. A strong burst of energy to change your life and those around you for the better. Those trines to Pluto are always about change for the better. And it's in earth signs, so we're looking for opportunities for advancement in the material world. Very nice on the Friday evening, along with the moon sextile Jupiter. A positive attitude, as well as a strong sexual desire. Both Virgo and Scorpio tend to be that way. And with the moon trine Jupiter like that, it's sure to bring that out on a Friday evening. And then a void, of course, begins. And actually the Mercury sextile Mars is going to be in effect strongly on Friday evening, once again making it a good night for social gatherings. So let's move along to Saturday the 3rd, very big day. We've got Mercury sextile Mars and Venus square Jupiter. And those are the only two planetary aspects for this week, and they both happen today. So it's energetic and sociable. Good time for relationships. An exciting day when we're able to overcome past conditioning, have some fun, maybe make some new connections. It's another party night, just like on Friday. And the Mercury sextile Mars, happening in the morning on Saturday, like I mentioned, is in effect on Friday evening. The Sagittarius to Aquarius sextile is very social. We're able to find philosophical agreement amongst friends and associates. Mercury in Aquarius is intelligent, original, and genuine. This aspect really brings those qualities out. So we're not shy or bashful to express the unique side of yourself. Very flexible, mentally and physically. Able to overcome past conditioning. Should make for an exciting day. Gives you a sharp mind, very active, able to grasp abstract concepts and philosophical ideas, and as well as politics. It's a very political aspect. Able to see the big picture, connect the dots, and redirect yourself for new opportunities. Should facilitate enlightening and energetic discussions. So communication is energetic and enthusiastic. Easy to express yourself and overcome inhibitions. Ambitious, looking for opportunities. Able to say what you think. Maybe make some new connections. Good time for business. Desire to get out of the house and move around. Time for fun and recreation because it brings so much energy to you. Good time for a workout. It's an excellent aspect for yoga, which requires flexibility and stretching. And I say this from a lot of personal experience because I'm just amazed at how much easier yoga is to do when I'm getting these kinds of transits in my life. So it's great for that as well. And more to kind of bring in the relationship energy on Saturday, Moon enters Libra. We're looking for harmony and balance over the next couple of days. Relationships are more important as we need them to derive emotional satisfaction for ourselves. Best time for social occasions as folks are more congenial, diplomatic, and they desire to look good. Interested in luxury and nuance, all of the social things. Makes for a sociable weekend. The Venus squared Jupiter aspect this evening is going to bring a strong desire to indulge. So be careful about that because with the moon in Libra, which rules the kidneys, they're more sensitive during this time. And one other thing I did notice happening is that on this day, we've got the Sun conjuncting the South Node. You'll see here it'll be the very early degrees, early 15th degree of Aquarius. So, looking at that, just another aspect to throw in today. Today you might meet or interact with someone with whom you have a karmic connection, possibly a past life connection, or maybe issues regarding a past life may surface. So tell me what you think in the comments about that one, because I'd like to learn more about the nodes. And then moving into Saturday evening, we've got the Venus square Jupiter. Sure to make Saturday evening a great time. It's a wonderful aspect that brings abundant, warm feelings and a generous attitude. A desire and willingness to reach out to others and share the best side of yourself. Optimistic, feeling lucky. Aspect facilitates having fun and making connections. Amorous, interested in trying new things. I mean, we've got Venus in Aquarius, which likes to love everybody, you know, and how we've got this square to Jupiter in Scorpio. So just think about that. Very amorous, interested in trying new things, something different. Great aspect for romance. Good day to meet a new partner or enjoy an existing relationship. Desire to please your partner. That's the Venus squaring into Scorpio there. Even to the point of exaggeration and, talking up your partner. Jupiter loves to overdo things. Indulgent, ready to splurge, eat, and love in abundance. Extravagant, desire to dress up and look your best. But poor judgment. Easily forgive others, though. Very socially accepting. Less critical of others, easygoing, lots of superficial chat. It's a good aspect for social gathering, and it's really one of the best. And that's because social gatherings and group activities tend to be governed by the two fixed signs above the horizon. That's Scorpio and Aquarius. We really need to be grounded into something physical in an activity. And it's like the fixed signs, whether above or below the horizon, tend to be where we fix most of our energy. And seeing as these are the two fixed signs above the horizon, and that's the outer world or our social life, this particular aspect has got very strong implications for expanding the social environment to include a lot of people, a lot of forgiveness, and a lot of fun. So essentially, the entire group dynamic expands to include more people, more perspectives, open to people who are different than you or have a different opinion. So with the Moon in Libra and the accompanying Mercury sextile Mars aspect, this Saturday evening is just an absolutely excellent time to go out and socialize. A real fun day. But it can't be all perfect, huh? Late in the evening, we do have a Moon square Saturn. So, actually, it's going to be two contrasting aspects close to one another. The Moon square Saturn, closely followed by the Moon sextile Mars. So the square to Saturn kind of slows us down, gives us concern about the past. Maybe secrets are revealed, but the sextile to Mars really increases our energy and desire for romance. So, all things considered, it's quite a lively Saturday evening. And finishing up the week with Sunday the 4th, Moon in Libra gives us two pleasant aspects today, making it another good day for relationships and any one-to-one interactions. We start just after midnight with the Moon trine Mercury. Another good aspect to help make a romantic connection on Saturday evening. And then on Sunday evening, the always pleasant Moon trine Sun. Inner conflicts subside, and we're able to share ourselves with others. Very creative. In air signs, good for communication and intellectual exchange. Well, that's all for this week's aspects. And moving on to interesting stories for the week, starting with Donald Trump. Recently, Mars, transiting his fourth house, squaring his natal Mars and his ascendant. And about that time, revelations of his affair with a former porn star went public, creating tensions and conflict in the home. And also this week, he's getting Chiron trining his Venus. You'll see here Chiron at 25 degrees of Pisces, trining his Venus at 25 degrees of Cancer. Now, that can bring jealousy into a relationship. I've noticed that in the Chiron-Venus combinations, Chiron often plays the part of either the other man or woman who brings pain by breaking up a relationship. So it's clear that there's some pain that has come into his relationship as well, coming from this Chiron trine. And coming up soon for Trump is the last pass of Uranus squaring that Venus. Again, Uranus is soon to it's going to happen next month, and it's sure to bring more stress to his relationships. So you can kind of see that being revealed through his transits. And a little bit of follow-up. Here's a story moving along to the next item. A whistleblower confirms secret society meetings between the FBI and the Department of Justice, as well as too big to believe, massive scandal brewing at the FBI. Very interesting. Those events occurred right at the same time as we had Mercury conjunct Pluto, sextiling Jupiter last week. So that's the story. It looks to be a clear manifestation of those aspects. Something we really kind of looked to see what would happen, because that Mercury conjunct Pluto really brings a lot of stuff to the surface, and the sextile to Jupiter almost ensures that it's going to get broadcast or published. So we hear about a whistleblower, and that just really sounds a lot like Mercury conjunct Pluto, because it's someone who's speaking and they're revealing things that are very Pluto in nature. And like I say, the Jupiter sextile makes sure it's published. So I thought that was a very clear indication of how those aspects manifested. And moving on to Hillary Clinton, got some stories about her. She refused to apologize for not firing an advisor accused of harassment. And here we go, the other one. Clinton, Podesta, and others are in the Senate crosshairs over the dossier, and they're given 2 weeks to respond. Okay, so that was a couple of stories that came out about Hillary right about the same time on the 27th. Okay, and what aspects was she having on the 27th? But Mercury was conjuncting her Jupiter on that day, and she's in the news in a negative way. It's showing her ruthless side and her ongoing legal problems, because that's Jupiter, which rules judicial proceedings. So these stories coming out now at the conjunction of Mars to her Jupiter tell us a lot about what's going on with her. And I picked this day to talk about her because it's the 31st, coming up this week. And that's going to be the day when she gets Jupiter squaring Saturn, as well as conjuncting her natal Mercury. And that's going to be the first of 3 passes, closely followed by the Jupiter conjunct Ascendant. And all of this Jupiter activity is sure to put her in the spotlight this week. And at this particular moment in her life, all of this Jupiter energy is only serving to highlight her legal problems. So we should be hearing a lot more about her legal issues this week and in the weeks ahead, as Jupiter is going to go retrograde at 23 degrees 14 minutes all the way back down to 13 degrees 20 minutes. And that's what's going to conjunct her ascendant and then go all the way back down to squaring her Mars and Pluto once again. So the entire Jupiter retrograde period is going to be a process of revisiting Hillary's legal issues. You know how we talk about the retrograde is a time of going over old ground. Well, there's going to be, all of this stuff related to her as we're going through that. So there is clearly a lot of serious fundamental issues coming up for her as well as for the USA, because what happens to her has a lot of implications for the USA. There's so much corruption at the DNC and the three-letter agencies like the FBI, the CIA, and all that, that if all of it were to be revealed, the entire system of justice would ground to a halt. If justice was truly done, the system would fall apart. So considering we're facing a constitutional crisis at the moment, it seems like a good time to check on the chart of the USA and see what's up. The USA Constitution. I usually just talk about the USA natal chart, but once in a while I bring up the chart of the Constitution, which is important as well. And the reason why is because we're seeing the Constitution go through a very karmic time these days. It's all concerning the moon's nodes. This week, coming up on the 4th, we've got the south node, the transiting south node, conjunct the Pluto of the Constitution. So I found an interesting link. I'll share that with you. It talks about the south node is the shadow point of dissipation. When transiting a planet, it drains the archetype of its energy. So it's transiting Pluto, so draining Pluto of its energy. It acts like Saturn, while the north node acts more like Jupiter. So what I'm seeing here is that the constitutional, in this case, police power, because it's the Pluto of the Constitution, so the police power is being put to a test. It's a karmic time. It's inhibited, which is clear in the fact that you cannot do everything that the law mandates, because that would destroy the system itself. And this comes just after Saturn conjuncting the North Node. And that was just last month on the 22nd, which brought a time of introspection, honest self-evaluation, the desire to restructure the Constitution's life path. In that regard, I would say it's like revisiting the original spirit of the Constitution, trying to figure out how to bring success, concern about integrity of the law, duty and responsibility to uphold the law. Those who are meant to protect the Constitution, the officers and the generals, must have felt an overwhelming sense of obligation to fulfill their duty at that time. So what we're looking at coming up this week is this big karmic moment. It seems to be manifesting as a fight to reveal the evidence in this infamous FISA memo, which talks about all of this corruption at the DNC. And of course that leads to so many other things in the FBI and so forth. I'm thinking that coming up soon on the February 7th, this Mars conjunct Moon could be a really significant day, because that's also going to be around the same time that the chart of the USA gets Mars opposition ascendant and Uranus, because this moon sits opposite the ascendant and Uranus in the natal chart. So this is a very sensitive point. So that's why I'm thinking this could be quite a flashpoint in early February. And moving on to the chart of the USA, we'll start with this weekend. Okay, guys, because I got a lot to say about the USA. And it leads on from what I was just talking about for the Constitution. But we're going to talk about several things. And the first one is a story this weekend. The USA, what is it doing? It begins massive GPS blackouts in the West during the largest ever air war drill. A very military exercise, a very big one, happening this weekend. And notice Jupiter at 20 degrees Scorpio, quincunxing Mars at 20 degrees of Gemini. Wow, events like this really prove that Mars rules military actions. The Jupiter quincunx is very compulsive. It's coming from Scorpio. It makes it even more so. But coming up this week on the 30th, we've got the last pass of Neptune trine Sun. You'll see that 12 degrees of Pisces to 12 degrees of Cancer. So despite this strong Mars energy, this particular transit is much more spiritual. It's not aggressive at all. In fact, it lowers your energy level a bit. It can make it hard for you to stand up for yourself. This Neptune trine Sun is a wonderful transit. It gives you a desire for a direct divine connection to Source, which often does not come through organized religious practice, but rather through a sincere letting go of material concerns in order to submerge yourself into a collective experience. It's a very compassionate transit, one that really opens you up to the subtle influences around you, makes you very dreamy and spiritual. Now, over the course of this transit, which has been since March of last year, it's brought with it idealistic notions of who we are as a nation and our spiritual destiny. Not so much materialistic these days, more thinking about our connection to the collective, our place in the grand scheme of things. There's been a groundswell of people who want the USA to fulfill its destiny, become the beacon of freedom and justice that it was meant to be. And this transit has played out as renewed hope for the USA by people in the alternative media who want to see mass arrests of the dark cabal that's been and continues to prevent the USA from fulfilling its destiny and taking its rightful place in the world. Idealism and hope, but it's also brought low energy. Now that the last pass arrives, it's going to be a point of culmination for those idealistic notions. One of the things I've noticed about Neptune transits is that you really don't know how you feel about it until some time has passed and you can look back with better understanding. It seems the overall effect has been very good, as many people have completely changed their perspective about the USA. I should say many Americans, primarily. Many Americans who once saw the USA from a more materialistic perspective now realize what's really going on in the world and how the USA is playing a part in it. And they're changing their focus to concerns over the spiritual destiny of America. And over the course of the next 3 months, we've got an interesting and volatile mix of transits to follow up this renewed concern over America's spiritual destiny. Okay, I will go over all of these transits as they arrive, but just to give you an idea of what's coming up for America in the next 3 months. On February 4th, Valentine's Day, Jupiter's going to be at 22 Scorpio. It's going to sextile Neptune, and that'll be happening again in April, and then the third pass in October. So we'll have 2 passes close to one another, and then again in the fall. And this transit is sure to bring more idealistic notions to the surface, just like the Neptune trine Sun. Even more concerned with the USA fulfilling its spiritual destiny. This transit will inspire people to stand up and do something for the good of the country. Jupiter-Neptune combinations tend to produce big crowds, get people to take to the streets, as we've seen in the recent past. We'll see lots more people entering the political arena around this time, with some very good ideas about how to address the nation's problems. Make America great again, like Trump's slogan, is going to take on a sense of urgency. The only downside to this is that you can get caught up in the moment and do something you normally wouldn't do. You expand your boundaries really far. I say that because there's a lot of turmoil coming, because the concurrent Jupiter quincunx Mars already seems to have instigated the natal Mars square Neptune aspect in America's natal chart, which makes the U.S. military think that it's the savior of the world. So there is a temptation to really expand too far on any Jupiter-Neptune combination. And then coming up in February, Mars is going to oppose the ascendant and Uranus. That's going to bring conflict, military actions, could bring sudden disruptive actions like an attack. You know, after all, the descendant here is the point of open enemies. And coupled with the previous transits, we're seeing the possibility of the USA to do something daring and outrageous. And just remember, the Winter Olympics starts right around this time in South Korea. But even more disturbing is this Pluto quincunx Mars. You see, when Pluto reaches 20 degrees of Capricorn, it's going to quincunx Mars at 20 degrees of Gemini. And that'll be March 18th, May 29th, and then January of next year. Now, this transit has a lot of potential for war, starting with an attack on the USA. After all, the 9/11 attacks back in 2001, when Pluto was at 12 degrees of Sagittarius, took place under the transit Pluto quincunx Sun, which was actually the most exact transit during the time of the 9/11 attacks. And this Pluto quincunx Mars is a very similar transit. So that's why I think it's a cause for alarm. And then, of course, we've got this ongoing Uranus square Pluto, which I've talked about for a while. The last pass is coming up in April, and it's brought a lot of economic chaos. And the major event coincidental with this has been the fall of the U.S. petrodollar. And that process should be complete by mid-April. And it's going to bring a lot of revolutionary sentiment, more so in the past, more chances of disruptive actions. And I'm putting all this together, and I'm seeing the potential for a series of events starting next month at the Olympics. Possibly a false flag, an attack that starts another war, just like 9/11 did. And just like 9/11, it's all to cover up serious economic problems. And there's an economic showdown coming, and it appears the USA and the Fed, as I've talked about in the recent past, are losing that economic showdown. And throughout the next few months, I see a rise in political activism like we haven't seen in a long time. Now, with so many people have finally woken up to the truth, many will finally get involved and demand change in the form of police actions. Okay? A lot of that is coming. Police actions towards those who have undermined the integrity of the USA and denied its spiritual destiny. Uranus square Pluto is going to be really intense because they always have a way of forcing you to overcome a stagnant situation. And the first passes of this transit brought the issue to the forefront, but I think that we really didn't take action because the low energy of that Neptune trine Sun kind of prevented it. But that ends this week, okay? In between now and the last pass of this Uranus square Pluto, we've got Jupiter sextile Neptune basically doing the opposite, giving us a lot of energy and inspiring folks to get involved. So the last pass in April is going to be a very restless time. Let's see how the authority figures can stop the groundswell of people demanding police action. A lot more political activism in the near future for the USA. Accepting date on my homepage. And if you're looking for an astrologer for readings or monthly consultations, I am offering a special during the month of February. $85 for natal readings instead of the usual $120. Just contact me through this website or through tomsolcom.com. Well, that's all this week for Weekly Astrology Notes. Thanks for viewing, liking, and sharing my video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Many blessings, and have a great day.